first in a series of videos on databases, and this is looking at 3.1.15 database concepts. And this first video, by the end, you should be able to explain the terms record, field, table, query, primary key, relationship, index, and search criteria as used in kind of database terminology. Okay, so I'm going to be referring to some example questions in this series of videos. The main one being this question from the 2014 paper. So what is a database? A database is a place where data is stored, and databases are behind almost every kind of modern website, application, computer program, etc. So databases allow different programs to all store kind of data in one set place. So this means that the programs that people make are able to be used by kind of multiple different users. So when we think about visualizing a database, what we get is a series of tables. So in this example database, we have two tables. One is called class and one is called teacher. So you kind of get the message that this is a database used in some sort of educational software, timetable planning or something like that. Okay, so the first term we're going to look at is this one, which is record. So when we think about a record, that's a row of data in a table. So if we go back to this example. So example, this one is a row. So we've got red 7 being the class ID, 24 the size, Monday, and tour. So that is one record inside this table. Or we could look inside the teacher table. And another example of a record would be this one. So Milner 406, that is one record. Okay, the next key term is this idea of a field. Let me try and make this a bit more clearer. So a field refers to a single column of data, and all the data in one column will be related. So it will be the same data type and it will have the same purpose. So examples of fields from this exam paper question. So size would be one field, room is a field, class ID is a field. So the table class has 4 fields: class ID, size, date, or teacher ID. And the table teacher has 3 fields: teacher ID, surname, and room. Okay, next term is, so now we're looking at table. So by now that should be self-explanatory. A table is a set of data organized into fields, records. And so a database is made up of multiple tables. So this next term, which is query. So what queries refer to is how you interact with databases and their tables. And the main way of doing this is called SQL, structured query language. And this is the way that a program allows a program to write, read, organize, etc. The data in the database. So I'm not going to dwell on that for too long now, because I'm going to do a series of videos on understanding SQL statements. But if you just want a little preview, then what this question gave you, and this is quite common of the AQA exam papers. So it gives you an SQL query and you have to say what would be returned as a result from the query. Okay, so the next key term is this idea of a primary key. So each thing inside a database is, so each individual record inside a database needs to be identified by something. So that is normally the ID, but often the ID and the primary key fall into the same category. So the primary key is something that is unique to each record. So for example, in the class table, Wednesday is shared across multiple records. So we're really looking for the thing that's unique, and it's quite obvious. So the class ID is also the primary key in this table. So red 7, blue 7, yellow 7. In some cases, the primary key might be an integer as well. So it might just be simply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the primary key allows the database to be sorted as well. So it's something used to identify, organize the records. Okay, so this brings us on to this idea of a relationship. Tables interact with each other, so they share data. And in this example, two tables, class and teacher, they have a relationship. So this kind of makes the data in a database, it enables it to be kind of more discrete, and it's easier to manage the resources efficiently if you don't have to specify the teacher's ID, the teacher's information, or data rather, for every record that has that teacher. So it's quite hard to show for an example, but if you imagine the teacher ID, surname, and room, if we had to put that in the class table, then the same data would have to be repeated for the red 7 record and the COMP2 record. So enabling relationships between different tables. So the class table has a relationship with the teacher table. This enables us to be more concise when representing data. So a relationship is links between tables to allow data to be more efficiently stored, concise. So the next key is the index. So this allows a database to be searched quicker and more efficiently. So the index is simply an integer that represents the position of each record in the database. So this would be index 1, index 2, index 3, so on and so forth. And the last one is search criteria, and this is kind of built in to what I'm going to talk about when I come on to SQL. But the idea of search criteria is the criteria that is specified to find certain information, data from a database. So an example of that, I might want to find, from this one, I might want to find all the classes that have a size over or under 20, let's say. So the criteria for that would be class.size less than 20. But we're going to come on to that more when I kind of continue with this series of videos and we explore writing SQL queries. So that was an introduction to the different terminology expected of you, expected that you understand for the exam. And the kind of question you might get is something